Welcome to the first episode of Beyond Game Day in 2026. We are taking a bit of a break, but we're back on, and it's almost like we'd never left. Morena,
Hey,
you take some time off in December, and so much happens.
things happen.
Yeah, but the biggest thing to happen is the All Blacks getting rid of Scott Robertson. Did you see that coming?
No, hence my like, we're actually even sitting in the newsroom and we're like, oh, they fired their coach. But I've been reading up and listening to commentary, it's if you look at the standard of New Zealand rugby and how it's been on a slow decline, you can understand why. And then they will not say that they're pressing the panic button. But this is panic button because you're thinking the World Cup is in September 27. It's January 26. Got the greatest rivalry tour coming up. Got obviously the start of the Nations Championship with South versus North. You're thinking to yourself, rather do it now. Let this year give you an idea of where you're sitting. But I think the other thing is, which is something that we see in football, I never thought we'd see it in rugby, player power. Player power largely cost that man his job. Because now, are you telling me that he's not going to go to Leicester, Adi Savea, and now he's going to stay with New Zealand rugby? Because he's an incredibly influential part of that team. And if he leaves, what's stopping the rest of the guys from just not doing anything? So him staying, I would imagine he was now going to stay and not leave New Zealand rugby. It's either we lose one of our star players or we let you go.
The sad thing about that, Morena, you speak about power player, and I fully understand Adi Savea being aggrieved because I think he should have been captain of his team from the beginning of Razor's tenure.
Yeah.
I think they made a huge mistake in going for Scott Barrett because Adi had captained the team previously under Ian Foster. However, the decline of New Zealand rugby of the All Blacks did not start with Razor.
No.
I think when Ian Foster came here a year before World Cup 2023, he was under tremendous pressure. He had lost the game in Nelspruit, and he had to win the game at Ellis Park.
Yes.
Because had he lost the game at Ellis Park, he was going to lose his job. And I think it's so unfair to blame coaches. Because you understand, Ian Foster and Scott Robertson have had to deal with a system or a policy where they cannot pick their overseas-based players.
Yeah.
You've got the likes of Shannon Frizzell and so many other players who are playing abroad who could add so much value to the All Blacks, Mwanga as well. And you can't pick them because there are policies that you don't pick overseas-based players. And that has hurt them. We've seen what South Africa did when Alistair Coetzee could not pick overseas-based players. And when Rassie came in, they could. And look what's happened.
Yeah.
Half the squad plays abroad. And I think New Zealand rugby need to look at themselves and say, while they're pointing a finger at their coaches, 3 more are pointing back at them. Because the decision to kick South Africa out of Super Rugby has had a major impact on New Zealand and Australian rugby. They might not admit it, but where they find themselves now is because they kicked South Africa out of Super Rugby. And by doing that, they didn't realize they actually strengthening South African rugby because we had no other choice but to go north. My biggest concern, though, Morena, is not about Scott Robertson. Now, whatever happens in New Zealand, good luck to them.
Yeah.
As long as the Springboks stay on top. If Jamie Joseph becomes coach, because he's a man who's been touted, I know the first call he's going to make. It's a Tony Brown. Tony Brown is part of the Bok management now.
Yeah.
Do you think Tony Brown will heed the call? First of all, to his closest mate in Jamie Joseph, and secondly, he is an All Black. He is a New Zealander. Will he succumb to the pressure of country call?
You're asking if he will succumb. I'm going to be slightly controversial and say he should take that call. He should take that job. He should go back home. We will lose big time. But one thing Rassie Erasmus has proven is that he knows how to find the right guy for what he needs. It's just under 2 years to go to the World Cup. Just a couple of months to go to the greatest rivalry tour. we're going in there stronger than New Zealand, right? So we shouldn't go in there complacent, and we shouldn't go in there pompous, but we should go in there with the confidence that even if we were to lose Tony Brown, we can find somebody else. Should we need somebody else of that caliber? But when country calls, you have to answer. And he becomes part of, like he was with the Springboks under Rassie, he becomes part of a revival. And if that revival proves successful at the Rugby World Cup, obviously as Springboks we're hoping it doesn't, but if it proves successful at the Rugby World Cup, you as Tony Brown literally look at your legacy to say, I really was part of revivals of two of the greatest rugby nations ever. And what makes it even more special is that I was part of the one of my own home country. So not that he will, in my perspective, he should answer that call.
Let me play devil's advocate. Tony Brown gets a call from Jamie Joseph. Country duty, working with my best friend again, we worked in Japan together. He sits and says, the Springbok team that I'm part of, which is probably another 20% from being at the potential, reaching the potential. A team that is arguably one of the best rugby teams ever assembled. The only team that rivals this current Springbok team would be the All Black team of 2011, 2015.
Yeah.
And he says, do I go to a team that's in ICU? Yes, I understand there's a rebuilding process, but it's a team that's in ICU. We've got to admit that. A team that suffered one of the biggest losses, in fact, the biggest loss ever in their history at home, to this very same Springbok team. Does he want to be part of a team that's going to come here to South Africa and face a Springbok team that has got one over them physically, psychologically, a team that battered them in the Rugby World Cup final? I bet they won by 1 point. A team that is consistently beating them, and you want to come here on a tour, and you know what's waiting for you on the other side. And you could be on the wrong side of these scores and on the wrong side of history. And then you want to go to a World Cup with that team and miss out on being part of history with this Springbok team, and history that says to me that in 2027 they'll probably do three-peat. Those are things I think that will be playing in Tony Brown's mind and saying to himself, I'm actually on a very, very good wicket here with the Springboks.
He is, but that good wicket is safe. Vata. It's too safe. You did not think you would win the Rugby World Cup in 2019 when you got beaten by Wales in Washington, D.C. in 2018, did you? You didn't.
Mm-mm.
So you're going to get hammered in the greatest rivalry tour. Make no mistake about that. You might just lose to Argentina again in the Nations Championship with the Northern Hemisphere. You might get a whipping by Italy, for example, you know? But what Rassie did when he stepped in 2018 to what he did on the 2nd of November 2019, what's stopping New Zealand from doing it? What's stopping Jamie Joseph with, the insight and the expertise and the knowledge of South African rugby and what it is we're doing in our dressing room? What's stopping them from doing it in 2027 as well? Especially in conditions they are incredibly familiar with. That's another thing that we don't perhaps consider, is that we're not playing up north next year. We're playing here at home. Argentina, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa know these conditions far better than the guys up north. So it will be a Southern Hemisphere victory. That's guaranteed. This World Cup next year in Australia is going to the Southern Hemisphere again. Question is, how badly does New Zealand want it? How badly does South Africa want a three-peat?
And they're in a collision course, eh? Yeah. You look at that draw, collision course in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
It would be sad to lose either one of those teams and not have them feature in a World Cup semi-final. But yeah, Morena, it's interesting times, I think, for All Black rugby, for Springbok rugby, for World rugby. I think the shift in coaching in New Zealand is going to be a seismic one, not just for them, but for World rugby. Because if I hear things right, if you get Jamie Joseph there, you get a Joe Schmidt and you get a Wayne Smith in the coaching team. The All Blacks, to me, are one game away from turning it around and becoming the All Black team we know.
Yeah.
But talking about turnarounds, Morena, big one, Champions Cup. I think the less said about the Bulls, the better.
The less said about South Africa in the last round, the better.
Yeah, but I think the Stormers and Sharks have an opportunity to redeem themselves.
Yeah.
More than anything, it's an opportunity to get to earn themselves playoff berths. Stormers play Leicester, Sharks play Clermont. Do you see Stormers getting through? And the Sharks?
Absolutely. Sharks, I don't have all that much faith in them. They've blown hot and cold. But the Stormers, absolutely. The Stormers have, I don't know what it is the director of rugby, Dobbo, has done with that team coming into the season, but to be sitting with 10 out of 11 matches, 10 victories out of 11 matches, that is incredible. I mean, yes, they got themselves a pummeling, but I think it was the necessary wake-up call. Sometimes things are going so well for you that you don't perhaps see, where your blind spot is. So I think that pummeling was very necessary. And I'm glad it came at a time where it doesn't threaten all that much their chances of a playoff spot in the Champions Cup, because God, South Africa needs much better performances in the Champions Cup. We've dominated the URC. We know that we're really great there, but the Champions Cup is where it's at. That is the holy grail. So with the Stormers, if they can get past, and convincingly, because they've proven that they can, this should not be a skin of the teeth kind of victory. If they can get past quite convincingly, the same way they lost the previous weekend, they need to exact that same kind of pressure and skill and ferocity in this very game. Then I think it's upward for them from then on. I think it came at the right time.
So let's give the Stormers
the Stormers definitely, without a doubt. The Sharks, I don't know what they need to do, right? But
they need to play rugby, Morena. That's all they need to do. It's just play rugby.
Yeah.
You can't have so many Springboks in your side and lose in the manner in which they're losing.
Absolutely. It's very possible, Vata. They are South African rugby's Galacticos. And if we look at history, where that term comes from, and
problem.
You're just not clicking. You're not clicking. This is not the Springboks. This is the Sharks. This is not international test rugby. This is club rugby, where the best of the world are all spread across different franchises. So, yeah,
I don't know. I think the coaches can only do so much.
Yeah.
When you've got players of the caliber of an Oxenche, of a Siamtanda Kolis, of a Andre Esterhazen, of a Jordan Hendrickse, and Makazole Mapimpi,
and Aphelele Fas.
Ethan Hooker, Aphelele Fas. I mean, these are star Springbok players with experience at international level. At some point, they should be able to come together and say, let's take this game by the scruff of the neck and show them what we're about, who we are as individuals, but who we are as a team. I would think that at some point, the players would take some sort of responsibility, shoulder it, and say, we owe this first of all to ourselves, we owe this to our sponsors, and we owe this to our fans. That's to me the biggest, the hurt point about the Sharks. It's a real pain point for me, is that they are far better than the results they're producing. And yeah, you can blame John Plumtree, and he's left. Now you've got JP Peterson there, which I also think has been given a hospital pass. But I think I'm glad that the Sharks have shown confidence in a young black coach.
Yeah.
However, the players have got to step up, man.
True.
They've got to step up. They've been in worse situations in Test rugby, and they should be able to just
know how to dig deep.
Yeah.
Know how to find it.
That's the biggest disappointment. Not forget what's happening in Pretoria.
Yeah.
I think Pretoria has been a long time coming.
It has.
It has been a long time coming. And Johan Ackerman is not going to be the solution. It's got nothing to do with his coaching ability. I'm just saying, him alone is not going to solve their problems, because their problems have been, were created a long time ago under the Jake White regime and his assistants in Anders Baker and Chris Rousseau. And people are not saying that, So unfortunately, the project at Project Loftus, is going to take another 2-3 seasons for that team to show some sort of turnaround, But the Sharks, aibo matota,
But yeah, they've put themselves in a position good enough to try and fight for a playoff spot. It's really now, like you said, there's only so much JPP can do. Like he would have to just jump onto the pitch and do it for them. But yeah, it's. I think perhaps another thing for me is who is going to run onto that field in the starting. That is another, pain point for me is who do you start with? Because it's all rugby. The secret with rugby is to always make sure that you've got a powerful bench. Sometimes, like football coaches would say to you, start strong. Kill the game in the first 40 if you can, and make it easier for the guys coming off the bench to not have to rescue you in the 70th minute, So it'll be important to make sure you start with the right 15. It'll be important to get the right 23, which, I mean, it's already come out, but, that which has come out, they need to go do the job. It really is. It really just does come down to it.
Yeah, let's hope they do the job, Morena, because I think we're confident the Stormers will do the job and get into the playoffs. Talking about doing the job, Sadio Mane keeps on doing the job, especially against Egypt.
Yeah.
I think he sees more Salah and then something just happens in his head.
He wakes up.
Two editions of Afcon ago, in the final, scored the winning penalty. Semi-final, scores the only goal and the winning goal. And he comforts Mo Salah again.
You would think that he hates the guy. You would think that you think he's still harboring a grudge from their days at Liverpool. And he's like, this is a friend of mine,
Yeah.
I commiserate with him for just struggling to get over the line, struggling to get number 8, It's football. I'm not too mad at it.
Yeah.
South Africans don't have the greatest relationship from a football perspective with North Africa. So, okay, Sadio Mane did the job. But I'd always said, I'd even put it out on air on the South African Morning to say that if Nigeria does beat Morocco, I don't trust Sadio to beat Nigeria.
Sure.
So I would have loved to see Nigeria make it to the final, to go lose there like they did against Cote d'Ivoire. It hurts more when you're in the final. But I'm also not mad at Nigeria not making it. But with Egypt, they've got 7 titles. They've not won a title since 2010, yes, but they've got 7 of those things. They can wait a couple more years.
And no one's got the divine right to walk into a tournament and go and win it.
Absolutely not. You have to actually play your socks off. But most importantly, you need to know when to peak.
Yeah.
And what I've come to realize about Sadio Mane and his boys, they know when to peak.
Hats off.
Whatever it is Aliou Cisse started, the culture has continued.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we will credit the current coach for managing it, because he did also take over in the last Afcon, in the middle of the Afcon.
Yeah.
So he also understands the culture and understands, Lions of Teranga football, but the culture is there and the guys know when to peak. And I'm happy for Sadio Mane, especially because people are probably downplaying and have been downplaying, his quality as a footballer because he's now playing in Saudi Arabia, but he will show you talent is forever.
And he stands up when it comes to Afcon.
Talent is forever.
And I'm so happy for them because the Ndiayes of this world, the Koulibalis, young players, are really showing what African football is all about. And for me, I'm glad about Afcon because, it's an opportunity for our players, African players, to shine.
Yeah.
And now the whole world is starting to watch Afcon.
Yeah. Even though some of them are hate watching, but they're watching.
And I love Rio Ferdinand, who keeps on saying Afcon should be moved either to the same time that the European leagues play, the European competitions happen, or the European leagues should come to a stop during Afcon out of respect for the tournament itself. And because a lot of their stars are now playing in Afcon. We speak about Nigeria and Morocco. I think as much as I would have loved to see Nigeria in the final, but also lose to Senegal, because I just don't like this North African dominance of the competition. But hats off to Morocco. They've played wonderful football.
Absolutely.
They've been the perfect host. Yeah, the tournament has been fantastic. The fields have been beautiful. The support in the stadiums has been outstanding from the Moroccans. So and they've played the kind of football that just is enough to get them into a final.
They've played tournament winning football. But and it's a big but, because I'm saying if Nigeria had just converted the chances that they were creating, that was their game to lose, and lose that they did. Not that they were not supposed to, because they did everything right. And when I say did everything right,
besides score,
besides score, they shut down the pain in every team's backside, and that is Brahim Diaz. Brahim Diaz had scored for 5 games in a row up until he came up against that
And
Nigerian
beautiful goals
defense.
at that.
Beautiful goals
Yeah.
up until he came up to that Nigerian defense. And if Senegal were watching that match closely, because they played theirs first, so they had the opportunity to watch who they'll come up against, they need to do exactly, if not a little better, than what Nigeria's defense did.
They shut him down.
The Bassies worked their socks off to shut Brahim Diaz down. With no Brahim Diaz operating at free will, Morocco has nothing. They have absolutely nothing. Ashraf Hakimi has not showed up. I mean, Mazraoui was doing what he does, but you've got an Hakimi that you can trust to do something in attack if necessary. They have no attack. They have got nobody that can spark things like Brahim Diaz had done for the first 5 matches. And if Senegal were watching that, if Koulibaly was watching that, it's Senegal's Africa Cup of Nations to lose. They have the attack. They have got full attack. They hit from all sides to Senegal, but they need to shut that boy down. Because if that boy gets anywhere near that 18-yard box and gets to unleash a shot...
Well, Morena, they did a good job in shutting Mo Salah down. And Diaz plays right there.
Yeah.
So...
Because honestly, all Morocco need is one goal, Vata. One goal.
Yeah. No,
one goal, and they will hit you with a low block that you cannot even believe. So
Morena, we're going with Senegal.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
we're going with the West Africans.
Absolutely.
We can't have Morocco win
no.
We can't have Morocco. We won't hear the end of it.
No. Firstly,
because they've got everything. They've had the women's Afcon.
Yes.
A lot of what CAF is doing is in Morocco.
Yes. They've got
this.
The world title.
Well, they're the first African team to get into a World Cup semi-final.
Exactly.
They're going to host. They're hosting the World Cup.
They are
co-hosts of the World Cup.
They are.
In 5 years' time.
But what they don't have is a flattering record, senior men in the Afcon. 50 years without winning this title, 22 years without making it to a final. They've been horrible in Afcon, maybe because they don't respect it as much as the rest of the continent does. So long may their misery continue.
I think, but Morena, they've given respect to it.
Absolutely. Well, they have.
I think the sort of the Arab nations within the African continent, I think maybe for a long time, didn't give the competition respect, besides Egypt. But the Algerians have come to the party, the Moroccans have come to the party. It's a pity Libya, they're going through their own strife in their own country. But at some point, I think, when things come right in the country, Libya, everyone has started to respect in Afcon now.
Because everybody's respecting the champions.
Yeah. Even South Africa respects Afcon. It's a pity Bafana got knocked out.
Yeah.
But I don't think Bafana played their best football.
No.
At Afcon, I think the pressure was too much for the players to handle. Having finished third at the previous edition of Afcon, they went in here saying, we're amongst the favorites to do well and probably go on and win the tournament itself.
Qualified for a World Cup at the expense of Nigeria.
And I think that got to their heads and they could not handle, because physically, one can never question how this team how Bafana plays and everything else. I think it was all in the mind. And mentally, forget the win against Angola. I don't look at that. That they should have beaten Angola.
Yeah.
I think their defeat to Egypt and how it happened, really, really, I think it hurt them psychologically, because there is a game they targeted to win, and had they won the game, they told themselves that they're in the quarters and so on. The sad thing is that how they lost that game to a controversial decision and then got denied a penalty, I think that hurt them big time.
But then that is where you get to see, you separate the boys from the men. In circumstances like that, you need to know how to rise up above them. So perhaps that's just a lesson that maybe Bros needs to beat into them, to instill, to say, you're going to see more of that in the World Cup. You cannot rely on the video assistant referee. We've seen how horrible that baby has been.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to be able to rise up mentally from any challenges thrown at you, and keep going and fight even harder. Perhaps use that as encouragement to fight even harder. It's a mentality thing, and their mentality is going to get even more eroded at the World Cup. So I think
this is what they needed.
It is what they
going
needed.
To the World Cup.
It is what they needed. nothing can be said to them about their skill.
Mm.
Nothing can be said to them about their skill at
Mbokazi.
all.
Mbokazi.
At all.
Shutting down Mo Salah.
So that we don't even need to talk about. It's a mentality thing now.
Yeah.
You're going to the United States of America with everything that is happening in that country right now geopolitically. There's just so much tension in the air. Yours is to knuckle down, focus on what you need to, and keep it moving. All South Africa's asking for right now, ideally, in a dream world, is the World Cup title. But all we're asking for right now is match the women, make it into the knockout stages of a World Cup, and we'll take it from there.
Stand up.
And we'll take it from there.
And it's about standing up, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I hate to say, use the Springboks, because everyone wants to use the Springboks. But 2019, you spoke about 2019. They're not right to win 2019.
Yeah.
They lost to New Zealand in the group games. And they defied the odds, became the first team to lose a game at a World Cup and go and win the tournament itself. You know, so, and also for there were teams that were not in the top 3 then.
Yeah.
It come from number 6 in the world. So Bafana can do it.
Yeah.
Bafana can do it. Or get into the knockouts. We saw the Proteas women. We saw the Proteas men. We saw with Banyana. I think adversity gets the best out of South Africans.
Yeah.
And I think Bafana need to learn from what happened at Afcon and go into the World Cup saying, we're not a bad side, but we carry hope. And not hope of the team itself, but hope of the millions of South Africans who want them to do well, who are desperate for Bafana to do well. They've packed the stadiums.
Yeah.
You know, Hugo Broos was on a 27-match unbeaten run until he lost to Egypt. People forget that. I don't know, we were probably almost number 100 in the world when Hugo Broos took over. He took us into number 50, 51 or something like that. So we forget the good work sometimes that he's done. And I think that good work that is done can carry this team into the knockout stage of the World Cup. But they need to learn from what happened at Afcon. Yep. Because if they don't, Morena, we'll be welcoming them back at OR Tambo almost a few weeks after they left.
They'll welcome themselves back at OR Tambo at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Good luck to them. And I hope it's even 3 o'clock in the morning when there's no one at that airport. Yeah. If they do that. But we remain hopeful that they won't do that.
Absolutely.
So, Mo, we've got a feel of rugby, a feel of football. There's just one more thing. SA Open winner not only earns
Open Championship,
but now the Masters in Augusta. And how historic was last year with Dylan Knight winning at Durban Country Club. Same place that Papua Segulum had won 1963 Natal Open and had to pick up his trophy from outside the clubhouse through the window. And that young man gets in there, picks up his first DP World Tour title. And now we go back to Stellenbosch after 27 years. He goes as a defending champion. Surely, at the back of his mind, he says to himself, let me do this again.
Yeah.
Because the Masters. It's a big one, Emran. It's a big one.
And for me, I think maybe athletes should not even think too far. Know that it's there, but don't think too far. The prestige of winning the SA Open. Let's not use our tournaments as stepping stones. Let's use them as it's the prestige of winning this competition. I did it at home. Let me go do it somewhere else where we haven't been in almost three decades. So win the SA Open. It'll open the doors for you. You know that now. But win the SA Open. Do it back to back. The prestige of defending your own title. Dylan Knight can do it. He can do it. He did it already. And
he can do it, Morena. I'm just worried because there's a young man, Jaden Shaper, who did well at the Nedbank Golf Challenge, was in contention on the final round, on the back nine, really pushed.
Yeah.
Goes on a week later, wins the Alfred Daniel. I think Jaden Shaper is going to walk in here and say to himself, I'm in the form of my life.
And he's doing great things right now in the Dubai Invitational.
Yeah.
That's got a Rory McIlroy playing there as well.
So he's going to say to himself, I go home and I go win the second oldest national championship and the premium thing and, tournament at home And not only will I earn a place in the Open,
I'm going to
but I'm going to go to Augusta. I think if anyone Dylan Naidu should be really worried about is Jaden Shepherd.
Him and Aldrich Potgieter. Him and Aldrich Potgieter. The Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
The PGA Tour's Rookie of the Year.
He did well last year.
Wasn't a mistake giving him that title. So, yeah, Dylan does have a bit of a challenge, but that's what makes golf exciting. That's what makes it exciting. Not only for them, but for us as well who are viewing. So, it'll be an interesting SA Open. It really will. And, yeah, man, all the best to them. This will probably be the most exciting SA Open now that we know what's on the line.
So we say Senegal.
Yes.
We say Stormers get through.
Yes.
We say Shepa, Potgieter, Naidu.
Yes.
Morena. It's going to be crazy. But worth it. Yeah.
And we're only starting 2026.
We're only starting. And we won't talk about Dakar and what's happening there. But thank you, Morena.
Of course.
Yeah, it's been... Yeah. Crack a jack start to the year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a massive year. We've got the T20 World Cup coming. We've got the FIFA Football World Cup coming. We've got
Women's Africa Cup of Nations.
Women's Africa Cup. We've got what to call this? Commonwealth Games. We've got the Nations Championship. We've got the Greatest Rivalry Tour coming. It's going to be a bumper sporting year.
It's going to be crazy.
And we hope we're going to have more of these conversations. We're going to dig deep. We're going to keep engaging with our audience. And I hope it's going to be just as good a year for South African sport in general. Yeah.
As it was last year.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Morena. Thanks, guys, for joining us. And catch us again on Beyond Game Day when you delve into some of the major issues and also look at what's keeping us entertained and enthralled on the sporting field. Thank you very much for joining us.